Hello, everyone, and welcome to another very interesting episode of Confessions of a Business Analyst with Teso Adoroa. We're back again this time, and we have my friend, my colleague, a very interesting person, Sandra Oham. But before we start to hear from her, today we are talking about vague requirements, right? How you go from chaos to clarity. I know that business analysts out there can relate to the fact that sometimes you get requirements that looks like, what are these people even thinking? But we're going to discuss. Sandra is going to confess. Tell us how she was able to turn vague requirements into actual requirements, as bringing clarity to requirements and helping the business move forward. So, without wasting any much time, let's meet Sandra. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Tessa. Thank you for having me.
You're
Yeah, I'm
welcome.
happy to be here. I'm glad we're doing this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right,
Okay,
so let's
so
let's let's get to meet you. Let's get to so you tell us your BA story. We like to do that because a lot of business analysts are listening, aspiring business analysts as well, so they can get to understand how to become a business analyst. Then we go into our topic of the day. So just briefly tell us your BA story.
okay. I started my career in the financial services industry, from a customer-facing role, really. And I realized that, like, you know, many people in the industry say customers, clients are like children. They don't essentially know what they want. They know the results that they desire to have. So when you're trying to, you know, elicit certain things from them, they find it challenging. It's almost like you're bothering them. Oh, I've told you what I want. So I find that getting to the root of things with customer query resolutions was really something that I was passionate about because I believe in fixing things and fixing them once. So I decided to do some research when I was looking at planning my career trajectory, and I stumbled upon business analysis. This was several years ago, and I was like, you know what? I can actually begin the transition. So I actively took steps to transition my career into getting the role of a business analyst. And so now that I work as an IT business analyst, I had to narrow my focus into the technology aspect of things because, technology in the last couple of years has been, agreed to be a driving force in scaling businesses, access to funds, so many other things that businesses try to achieve. So being on the intersection of finance and technology was really where I found the most comfort and what's most familiar to me, really.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, not like me that became an accidental BA. You took steps.
I did take steps, actually.
you,
I
you,
did.
you took steps. Would you mind to mention? Is there one or two things that you can, that you can say helped you, and very affordable options, actually, because many people out there are looking to become business analysts, but they don't know where to start from. They see all these expenses courses here and there, and it tries to discourage them. So, what would you say is the go-to place to find something at least that helps you start off as a business analyst?
Okay, so I really took advantage of open source materials. You can go to any of these free learning tools. Udemy, Coursera has courses. I joined boot camps, so you can find people who put together boot camps. Join communities. There's so many BA communities out there. Join the ones that can allow you participate without too much commitment. Look for internships. Look for tasks that you can do to learn and to build your portfolio. So those are really, things, steps that you can take. And then before you decide to commit, because you may find out that, you know what, I don't really like this. I'm not trying to, ask people too many questions. I'm not trying to convince you that this is the solution to your problem. Maybe this is in the past for me. So I would definitely say take baby steps, start with things that don't really require too much investment financially, and then see if you like it. So that's what I would advise.
Okay, absolutely. That's very polished advice. And thank you. Thank you. So open source, make sure you test the waters, basically. Just know what the job is about and be sure it is what you want before you get into it. We
Yeah.
appreciate that. All right. So let's go straight into our questions. The very first one is I want to know, I've always wanted to ask you, even in the office, right? What is the vaguest requirement you have ever seen? Like the vaguest. Can you remember what you said? Like what they say to
Hmm.
you, and what was your first reaction when you heard that?
Okay, so this was at one of my previous jobs where they said they just wanted the customer onboarding process to be better. It was a simple request, a one-liner by email. And I say to myself, how do you want the customer onboarding process to be better? What does that even mean, And they say, oh, customers complain that they have to go through so many things. They provide us the information. Why do they have to do this? Why do they have to do that? And I said, okay, so tell me what exactly, at what point are they struggling? At what point are they abandoning the process? So you begin to have these conversations, and then you realize that maybe the file attachment that is required, the space that's required is not big enough for all the KYC documentation that's required. You find out that, oh, they don't see any reason why they have to provide such and such and such. If they provided their BVN, you should be able to collect some more information. So it's really
Mm.
about it's really about drilling down and just being patient enough to understand that this request, oftentimes is coming from a place of frustration, I think, which is why they're called pain points anyway. So you
Wow.
might as well you might as well
Pinpoint.
just yes, you might as well just calm down and then give a listening ear. I think it's really about being heard, to be honest. If you can just listen, they will be much more willing to work with you through, charting a path forward. But it's crazy, but it's the job.
I know. We see that every day. Okay, which
Mhm.
leads me to my next question. So with this vague requirement, what do you do? How do you face ambiguity with requirements? Do you just ask questions like you did with the example you gave, or you do some research, try to draw diagrams, to even understand that customer onboarding journey, or is there something else that you do, to help you understand this requirement and move them from the place where they are to a clearer point?
Okay, you mentioned something, diagrams. I think diagrams are a fantastic tool. Illustration is a fantastic way of being able to see what has not been said, it's very easy for a customer or anyone to tell you, I want this, 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 and this. But then when you begin to put pen to paper or pencil to paper, it doesn't have to be anything complex. And you begin to model it. If it's a process flow, if it's an interface that they're looking to enhance or to build or whatever, they know many times these customers have conceptualized these things to a certain degree, but they haven't taken the time to put pen to paper. So, as a BA, when you begin to map out these things, the requirements become much clearer. Also, another thing I do is when I listen to the requirements, I can sort of localize the high level requirements and then begin to ask open-ended questions along those lines. I find often that allowing a person to speak and then express the entirety of what their desire is in the future state helps me to pick one or two key things that they may not even consider relevant if they were to give me a checklist or anything.
Hmm.
So I think those are the things, those are some of the tools or the techniques that I employ when I'm trying to streamline or to, get to the root of those requirements and break them down.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something about diagrams. You don't know what diagrams can do for you. See, um, there's sometimes when I worked in business process reengineering, when I'm talking to process owners who are describing their process to me, all I'm doing is drawing that process, just sketching, like you said, nothing fancy, just my pen and paper, and putting something down. That helps me to replay the process for the stakeholder once they are done. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's very accurate. You got it. Not because I was writing down, but because I was drawing. And then
Modeling,
we're able
yes.
to, yeah, we're able to give a distinction as to what is and what is not. And then we start from there to understand what the problem is. And then there are other areas they may remember something. Say, oh, I forgot to tell you there's an activity that happens before this one. And that's because they can
Mhm.
see now that
They
you're
can
showing
see
them.
it.
Yeah. So it's very
Yes.
important. Pictures are very important also to bring clarity to
To things.
requirements.
It's a very helpful tool. I find that it's a very helpful tool, especially when the processes are very complex and they are interdepartmental. They are, there's so many decision points and
Mm,
alternative courses of action. So you need to be able to model that and then see where the breakdown is and exactly where you can bring the desired change. So I think it's one of, the best tools that I have. And
exactly. Same
yeah.
here. All right. So to the very next questions. I mean, um, our stakeholders are all smart, right? They never accept that, they don't know what they're doing, right? So how do you talk to your stakeholders? How do you elicit requirement from stakeholders, especially when you are faced with vague requirements? How do you ask them questions but still try to maintain the fact that you don't want them to look like they don't know what they're doing? I did a post, was it 2 weeks or a month ago, about understanding that your stakeholders are always right, right? So how do you make them feel like they're saying the correct thing, but you're just trying to help to model it instead of making them feel like, oh, you don't know what you're saying, this is not right, and all of that.
Okay. So, like you said, stakeholders are always right. When it comes to decision making, they have the decision making power. So being able to navigate that and still get manage to get things done is a core competency that is required by a BA. So as for stakeholders not feeling, like they're being made to look like they don't know what they want or they don't understand. So I think it's really about understanding what they do. Sometimes I even offer to shadow the stakeholder. If it's someone who, I'm in the office and I can go to them to see what they're doing, I offer to shadow them and immerse myself in their experience, their day to day. Even if it's for a few hours, for a day, it just, you know, helps them to be, I find that it makes them more receptive to whatever investigation that I feel is necessary to move us forward. Many times you ask them, when you observe these things, you ask them, are you open to this alternative? Here's a different perspective. Do you think that it's possible? Do you think that you will be comfortable with this if we do that? Not to say that what you already have now is broken, but you're coming to me for a particular reason, right? You must have some level of dissatisfaction with a few things here and there. So I think approaching things with empathy and empathy, most of all, is key so that they don't close up and they make things all the more difficult for you. When they insist on something, if you're saying, if you provide an alternative course of action or maybe even a solution, when they insist on things, you should be able to convincingly, offer a different perspective, even if it means going as far as providing a prototype of what your solution should be or what your proposed solution is. That should that should make things a lot easier and make them more receptive to whatever it is you have to say, less
Mm,
defensive, you know.
mm. That's very important, and I like the fact that you talked about observation. You know, putting yourselves in the shoes of these guys really helps a lot, right? Because sometimes you sit on your table, you read all of these documents, you may not understand until you're there yourself to actually see how things work. I mean, it could be an application, it could be how a process is carried out from one department to the other. You know, observing helps you to even see some unofficial activities that happen during that process, and it also helps you to understand this and incorporate it into the future process. That's very, very awesome. All right, so we're going to take a small break. All this plenty, sorry, plenty questions. Let's take a small break, and I'll ask you questions. We're going to play a game.
Okay.
All right, so the name of the game is real or rubbish. Real as
Okay.
in, is this authentic or it is absolute rubbish? All right, so I'm going to be saying some phrases um, that I believe are BA terms, and then you tell me if it's a real one or it's made up. And by made up, it means rubbish. So when I say the phrase, you tell me if it's a real one or it's rubbish.
Okay.
You good?
Yes, I'm good. I'm curious to see what
Okay.
this is about.
All
Oh,
right. So the first one is value waterfall.
that's rubbish.
Value waterfall. So you tell us if it's real or it's rubbish.
That's rubbish.
You're sure?
That's rubbish.
Absolutely, that's rubbish. Value waterfall is
Mhm.
rubbish. The next one is non-functional requirements.
Oh, that's real. Very real. Too real.
It's so cheap. I
Too,
don't know why it's on the list.
too, too real.
Okay, next one, backlog grooming.
That's real.
Why? Why are they bringing all these cheap things? Okay.
That's real. We're BAs. We know these things. We know these
Hmm.
things. It's a
Don't be
tool.
too sure. The tough ones are coming.
Okay. Okay. Then bring them on then.
All right, next one is feature fog.
Hmm.
Features
Fe-
as in, yeah,
Yeah,
part of an
features.
application.
Yeah, features and an application. Feature
Yeah,
for.
yeah, feature
I'd
fog.
say. Hmm. I'd say real. Yes, real.
Hmm. It's actually rubbish. I caught you.
Well, I think the reason I said real is because that's open to interpretation. So, should I
Hmm.
tell you why? As BAs, we can explain things. We
Yeah, yeah,
can.
sure.
Okay, so when you say feature fog, I look at it from a perspective of something that isn't clear. When
Isn't
you
clear.
when you concact the two words, we know that things that are not clear essentially the basis of what we do. So I
Hmm.
feel like it's a very real term. You know what? I might actually use that in engagement.
It is
How,
not a real term. Yeah,
it's not a
but
real thing, but we
yeah,
can. We can
yeah.
make
So
it a
feature
real
fog,
thing.
it actually sounds like a vague requirement, right? Like
Yes, it
you don't
does.
really understand this feature, but it's there.
And given the title of this podcast,
Mm,
I would think that that's something that it's to me, it's a real thing. That's what matters.
you fell for it.
I did hard.
Mm. All right. So the next one is acceptance criteria. Who's putting these cheap things here?
Oh, come on. It's real. That's real. Very real.
Okay. So far, these are five. You have four over
Mm.
five. Let's see how far you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
Stakeholder safari,
Oh, that's
real or rubbish?
rubbish. That's
Oh my god.
rubbish.
Okay, that's rubbish. To be process.
That's real.
Okay, real. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's
Scope
real.
scope ninja.
That's rubbish.
Are you sure?
That's
Think again.
rubbish. Very
Okay,
sure.
it's rubbish. Okay,
Mhm.
context diagram.
Oh, that's real.
Okay, why is this thing so easy for you? The last one, I'm sure you're not going to get this.
Okay. Let's
Epic
see.
spaghetti.
Oh, that's rubbish. Come on.
Are you sure?
I mean, unless this is a cooking show and we want to qualify the spaghetti as epic. Otherwise, in the BA context, it's absolute rubbish.
Mm,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
that's perfect. You got 9/10. I mean, the first guest to get 9/10. Our previous guest got 8/10.
Okay. I'm on the leaderboard. That's nice.
All right. Okay. So that's it. You've done very well. So
Thank
you owe
you.
us for feature fog. You owe us.
Okay. I mean, send me an invoice.
It's all right.
Uh,
So it was awesome playing the game with you.
okay, I enjoyed it as
Mm,
well.
thank you. All right. So let's move to our very next question. So now it's two ways, right? There are some times where a a requirement comes in and you think that you understand the requirement, you understand, and it turns out you didn't understand the requirement at all. So has there been a time where you misunderstood a vague requirement, right? You misunderstood it and delivered the wrong thing. Can you tell us what happened and how were you able to recover from that incident?
Okay, so and a scenario that comes to mind was when I needed to expand the fields for enhanced due diligence so that we could be
Mhm.
regulatory compliant. So this project was initiated by the compliance team, and the scope of the requirement centered around corporate accounts and ultimate beneficial owners. So there were fields that were required to be included on the core banking application that would help the account opening process. And it turns out that when it comes to the issue of BVN, you have you're operating an account, a corporate account as an entity, but there are several directors and several signatories to the account. The signatories aren't typically the owners of the account, they're the ones who operate the account. So whose BVN are we maintaining, you know, to operate the account? So it turns out that I only had enough to cater for, you know, some signatories and some directors. And it turns out, the field, I think he had about five fields, but it turns out that I thought that that was sufficient. But it turns out that we needed to maintain all directors and then all the signatories to the accounts. So what happened was when we delivered that, compliance in the review came back and said, you know what, this is insufficient. This is why we need this. So we needed to go back to do the customization to that particular fast path for account opening. And so what we did was to expand it to the maximum allowable of 10 fields per director and per signatory so that way at account opening they're able to put in as much details. I mean, 10 should be able to cater for both signatories and directors for any company. So that was that. We were able to catch that because, again, the person initiating the request was involved in the review process. And I think proactive communication with members of the team is really what helped us catch that early and then fix it quickly before the audit took place. So I'd say that that's one of the examples that comes to
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's a very well detailed
mind.
um, example, and
Mm,
I'm just thinking of my own sins. You know, hearing your
mm.
confession, I'm thinking
You
of my
can
own sins because
it's a
these things
it's a
happen.
confession. They do. I think really
Yeah,
what helps a BA recover is that collaborative effort. The work that we do relies heavily on support. So
yeah.
being actively involved and also having team members, project team members that check in with you every step of the way, especially, when they're carrying out their own activities is really what helps us to iterate quickly and then catch those gaps early on. It could be this didn't seem like it had a huge consequence, but it could be another project where you've deployed to production and maybe there's income loss or there's
Mm.
something else that is might be a struggle to recover from. But having teammates that support the vision and have shared ownership of what we need to deliver is definitely a scenario or a situation that a BA can benefit from when it comes to these things.
It's all right. Thank you very, very much. I mean, this is very honest. In fact, your confession is making me feel guilty, so I think it's past.
Maybe you should confess to. Maybe you should
I,
confess to, and we might
I
all be
will.
unburdened.
I will. All right. So, final question. What will you tell a
Alrighty.
PA who is stuck in um or who is feeling stuck in unclear or incomplete requirements? What advice would you give them? What should they do? I know we've talked about a lot of things that you can do to, get from chaos to clarity. But what specific advice would you give a BA to? Because I know I've worked with colleagues who are always stuck. Every project they are complaining, I don't understand this person is saying this person is saying that. What advice would you give them? What's your go-to technique that helps you uncover these vague or incomplete requirements?
Okay, so I think primarily um, when you get a requirement, look at it as a sentence really, and then begin to break down the component parts of what this person is asking. And then you'll see that you have at least at the very high level what the expectations are, what the deliverables are. I would also say that oftentimes I find that we only know what we need to know when we know what we need to know. And
And
here's what
no,
I'm
no, don't
here.
do
No,
that
I'm
to
gonna
us.
break it down. I'm gonna break it down.
Okay,
So
all right.
as a BA, you're not expected to be a subject matter expert on everything. It's not possible, which is why we have stakeholders who are considered subject matter experts on everything. So what I
Mm-hmm.
will say is you need to draw on the contributions that they bring to the project, seek them out, and then let them help you understand what it is that is expected here or what it is that is required. And then I would definitely say that you need to understand that there are situations where the requirements only truly become clear when you begin to move forward. So sometimes you may need to start something, at least start something, and then you begin to understand, okay, this is how it works. This is how the database behaves. This is why this implementation or this suggested solution may not work, in this form of application. So I think that's what I mean when I say you only know, the more you know, the more you need to know, especially in a subject that you're very unfamiliar with, where you do not have domain knowledge. So definitely be open to learning and then begin to just iron things out and then cut a clear path forward. So picture this, think of it like a bush and you are an axe. So drawing on the knowledge of a subject matter expert is basically you sharpening yourself, the axe. And the more you know, you're able to then cut a clear path forward. You can't really see the end of the path from where you're standing. So move. Okay. So move. That's just really what I have to say to that.
Oh, awesome. So move, clear your path as you go, right? So
Mhm.
as you clear, you see you are able to
Yes,
move
it's
ahead.
much
Mm,
clearer. Yes, where you're going, where you need to go.
all right. Thank you very much. And so we like to recommend learning topics or courses, right? So is there anything you're
Mm.
learning at the moment you want to recommend? Is there, just tell us what you're up to. Are you learning something? Is there a trend that we should be looking out for as BAs as well?
Okay, when it comes to trends, I'll definitely say cloud computing if you're interested in that. If you're interested in infrastructure and basically how they support
Mm,
applications and what have you, that's definitely something that you need to look into. You don't necessarily have to delve deep unless you're really interested, but it's something that you should have base knowledge about. Then I will also say generative AI. AI
mm,
is the future. So at the very least, you should be able to understand, natural language processing and how it basically helps to sharpen your tool. Then what I'm currently learning now is I feel like I need to delve deeper into system servers and applications. So,
mm,
yes, because it's really the foundation of everything. You don't, it helps you understand your developers better. It helps you understand the infrastructure, guys better.
mm,
It even helps you in elicitation in that if a customer is making a request, you can already know what is technically feasible to a certain degree, even before you have these conversations with your developers. Okay, you're able to say, you know what, because of X, Y, and Z, it is impossible to approach this in this manner. It helps you give quality first level support or insight there and then as you're having the conversation with the source of the request. So that's definitely something that I'm currently investing my time in. And it's been interesting so far. So whenever I make the time, I always go back to it. But I'll definitely say have a learning roadmap while you're doing the job. And if you aren't in the industry yet, pace yourself, and it will come together beautifully, I might add, like in my case.
mm. Thank you very much. And we can see that's very awesome. And
Yeah, thank you.
I tell people all the time when we speak that BAs always learn, right? When you stop learning, you will not, let me not say you will not be relevant on the job anymore. You always have to continue learning because there are domains that will be new. With each project, there are new challenges that would come in, right? So
Yes,
you have to
definitely.
update your knowledge all the time. Thank you very, very much for making it here and for your confessions. In fact, this was heartfelt. I could relate to a lot of the things. I don't know if it's because I'm a BA as well,
Of
or
course you
it's just
are.
something that
Of course you
it's just
are.
something
It's
that
a
everyone
shared
can relate with.
struggle. We're all in the
Exactly.
trenches together. So of course you
Mm-hmm.
do.
Trenches. All right. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Sandra, for this very insightful session. And we'll hope to have you again sometime to discuss
Yes,
tougher
I enjoyed.
topics.
Yes, I enjoyed being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.